The crash and the girl. The sky over Karen 9 was red and angry. Smoke rose from broken trees and burning metal. A loud hum echoed across the valley, followed by silence. Then came the crash. A human medical transport ship, white, marked with red, symbols of peace, fell from the clouds and slammed into the forest below. The sound shook the ground and scattered birds into the air. Inside the wreckage, surrounded by sparks and twisted steel, Dr. Mason opened his eyes. Blood dripped from a cut on his forehead. The crash had knocked him out. His ears rang. Everything smelled like fire and oil. He sat up slowly. The medic cabin was destroyed. The pilot was gone. Supplies were scattered everywhere. He tried to stand. His leg hurt, but nothing was broken. "Anyone alive?" he shouted, coughing. No answer, only silence. Dr. Mason grabbed his emergency kit and climbed out of the wreck. Trees were cracked in, half. The air was thick with smoke. He checked his scanner. No human signals nearby. But then, something strange. A life sign. Not human. It was weak, but real. He followed the signal through the wreckage, moving quickly, heart racing. Then he heard it. A scream. Sharp, high. Not like a grown voice. It was a cry of pain and fear. Mason pushed aside a heavy metal panel and looked underneath. There, trapped under broken debris, was a small alien girl. Her skin was light blue and her eyes glowed faintly. She was young, maybe 15 in human years. Her leg was crushed beneath a large steel beam. Her voice trembled. She looked at him and gasped, "No, don't touch me." Mason stopped, raised his hands. "I'm not here to hurt you. You're human," she hissed. "You kill our kind. You cut us open." He shook his head. "I'm a medic. I save lives, not end them." She didn't believe him, but she was too weak to move. Her leg was bleeding badly. The bone was crushed. Her breathing was fast. If he didn't act fast, she would die. "What's your name?" Mason asked softly. She didn't answer. "I need to stop the bleeding. Please let me help." She hesitated. Then, through clenched teeth, she said, "Thessa." Mason nodded. "Okay, Thessa, you're strong. Just stay awake." He knelt beside her, slid the emergency foam around her thigh, and pressed the seal. The bleeding slowed. She winced, tears falling from her glowing eyes. "My leg. It's ruined." He didn't lie. "Yes, it's bad. The damage is spreading. If we don't remove it soon, it will poison your blood." Her eyes went wide. "No, you can't. Our kind, we don't cut parts off. It's forbidden." Mason looked into her eyes. "I know it's hard, but I can't save your leg." "I'll be a disgrace," she whispered. "A broken thing." He placed his hand gently on her shoulder. "You won't be broken. You'll be alive." He worked fast. The tools were basic, nothing high-tech, just what survived the crash. He gave her medicine to dull the pain, though it wasn't enough. She screamed once, then bit her arm to stay silent. He cut cleanly, carefully, wrapped the wound, stopped the bleeding, and when it was done, Thessa passed out. Mason sat beside her, tired and covered in sweat. The sun had started to set. He looked at her small body, curled up in pain. "She doesn't even know it yet," he whispered to himself. "But I think she's stronger than anyone I've ever met." He stood up, looked toward the distant. Hill's help was days away, but he wasn't going to let her die here. He pulled a blanket over her and sat close, keeping watch. And so, the night began, with one medic, one alien girl, and the first step of a journey that would change them both forever. Life or a limb. When Thessa opened her eyes, the sky was dark. The stars above looked strange, sharp and silver like knives in the night. Her body felt heavy, cold. Then the pain hit her. She screamed. Her hand shot to her leg, but it wasn't there. Only a thick wrap, clean, tight, silent where her bones used to be. "No," she whispered. No, no, no. From the shadows, Dr. Mason appeared, holding a small lamp. You're awake, he said gently. Tessa's breath quickened. Her eyes glowed with panic. What did you do to me? I saved your life, Mason replied. My leg is gone. He nodded. Yes, I had to. It was dying. It would have killed you. You had no right, she screamed. You don't understand. My people, we don't cut off parts. It's shameful, dishonor. Mason sat down beside her. I didn't ask for permission because you were unconscious. I had to choose your leg or your life. She turned her head away, silent tears rolling down her cheek. I'd rather have died, she whispered. No, Mason said softly. You say that now, but you didn't see what I saw. Your body was shutting down. You were turning cold. He paused, then added, I've seen death many times. I won't let it take someone I can still save. Hours passed. Tessa said nothing. Mason worked quietly nearby, using scrap metal and wiring from the wreck to build something, a frame. It looked rough, like an open cage. It wasn't perfect, but it was a start. She watched him from a distance, eyes filled with fear and confusion. Why are you doing this? She asked finally. Mason didn't stop working. Because I'm a medic. This is what I do. But I'm not human. He looked up. You're alive. That's enough. She blinked. No one had ever said that to her before. Later that night, as she struggled to sit up, Mason helped her gently. I don't need your help, she muttered. Yes, you do, he replied calmly. And that's okay. She stared at the stars. My people will never accept me now. I'll be cast out, laughed at. Mason took a deep breath. Let me tell you a story, he said. Years ago, I treated a soldier back on Earth, a sniper, strong, smart, brave, lost both legs in a blast. Tessa looked at him. He begged me to let him die, said he'd never walk again, never be useful. I didn't listen. I gave him 2 cybernetic legs. Did he walk again? She asked, voice softer now. Yes, Mason smiled. But more than that. He ran. He climbed. He became a rescue leader. Saved more lives than anyone I know. He leaned closer. Sometimes, what we lose gives us the strength to become something more. Tessa looked at her wrapped leg. The pain was fading, but the fear remained. She asked, Will I ever walk again? Mason reached into a metal case and pulled out a small part, shaped like a knee joint. If you let me finish what I started. Yes. She hesitated. Then, with a shaking voice, she whispered, Okay. For the next 2 days, Mason worked non-stop. He used parts from the crashed ship, old servos, wire from a broken drone, stabilizers from a damaged chair. He shaped the frame to fit her body exactly. Tessa watched everything. Her fear didn't go away, but something else began to grow. A strange trust. He didn't treat her like a patient or a project. He treated her like a partner. When he adjusted the socket, he asked her opinion. When something hurt, he changed it. When she cried, he didn't look away. Why do you care so much? She asked one night. Because someone once did the same for me, Mason said, and it saved me more than any medicine. The moment came. The temporary leg was ready. It wasn't beautiful. It didn't shine, but it was strong. Mason lifted Tessa gently and attached the frame to the wrapped limb. Try it, he said. She stood shakily, one foot on the ground, the other mechanical. Her steps were clumsy. She stumbled. Fell. He caught her. It's okay, he said. It takes time. She nodded, biting her lip. She stood again, one step, another, her face lit up. I'm walking? Mason smiled. Yes, you are. Tessa laughed, a full, real laugh. I thought I was broken. Mason looked at her, eyes serious. You were never broken, just rebuilding. That night, as the wind blew softly through the broken trees, Thessa sat beside the fire. Her leg made soft clicking sounds, but she didn't mind. "I'm scared," she said. "Of what?" Mason asked. "What my people will say." He looked at her. "Let them say what they want. You're alive, and stronger than ever." She didn't reply right away. Then she said, "I'm glad it was you who found me." And for the first time, she leaned against him. No fear, no shame, just trust. Metal and bone. The sun rose over the burnt forest of Charon 9, painting the sky in soft gold and red. Trees stood like black skeletons. Smoke still rose from the crash site. But near a small clearing, beside a quiet campfire, something new was happening. Thessa was walking, slowly, carefully. Her steps were short, uneven. Her right leg, the mechanical one, clicked and hissed as it moved. The metal frame was thin and basic, made from scrap and wire. But it worked. And for Thessa, it felt like freedom. She had feared this moment. She had imagined it for days, falling, failing, being mocked. But instead, with every step, she felt a little stronger, a little less afraid. Dr. Mason walked beside, her arms out just in case. "You're doing great," he said gently. "I still limp," Thessa muttered. "Everyone limps a little at the start," Mason replied with a smile. She stopped, panting. "My balance is bad." "You're standing, Thessa. That's already a victory." Later, she sat under a broken tree, wiping sweat from her brow. Her hand ran over the metal of her leg. She could feel the warmth from the sun on the steel. She tapped the bolts and joints, tight, stable, smooth. It felt strange. It wasn't her flesh, but it was part of her now. "Why did you make it look like this?" she asked. Mason looked up from his small work table. "What do you mean?" "It doesn't look like your other machines. This feels almost alive." Mason smiled softly. "That's because I didn't just build it with parts. I built it for you. It had to fit not just your body, but your spirit." Thessa blinked. "You think my spirit is sharp and squeaky?" He laughed. "No, I think your spirit is strong, balanced, built to survive anything." She didn't respond, but she smiled for a long time. That night, as they shared food, Mason brought out a small metal piece, a cylinder with smooth sides. "What's that?" Thessa asked. "It's a core stabilizer," he said. "From the old med drone. I want to use it to build your permanent leg." Thessa's eyes widened. "Permanent? This one is just temporary, a brace. But I've been saving pieces. One more supply crate out there might have the last parts I need." Thessa frowned. "Another crate?" He nodded. "It's about 5 kilometers from here. Scanners picked it up earlier. I was going to go alone, but now that you can walk, I'm coming with you," she said immediately. Mason raised an eyebrow. "You sure?" She stood slowly, her mechanical leg locking into place. "If I can walk with purpose." He nodded. "All right, then tomorrow, we go together." The journey to the supply crate wasn't easy. The terrain was rough. Hills, fallen trees, ash-filled air. Thessa walked with care, her cybernetic leg making soft clicks in the silence. Mason kept a steady pace beside her, pointing out dangers, clearing paths. At one point, they reached a deep stream. There was no bridge. Thessa stopped, unsure. "I can't jump this," she said. Mason looked around, found a long plank, laid it across. "You don't need to jump," he said. "You need to trust yourself." She stepped onto the plank, slow and shaking. Her leg buzzed slightly as it adjusted to the angle. Halfway across, the plank shifted. She gasped, but didn't fall. She looked down, then up, and took the last steps. On the other side, she turned around, breathing hard. "I did it," she whispered. "Yes," Mason said. "You did." They reached the supply crate just before nightfall. Inside, tools, small energy cells, and most importantly, titanium alloy parts. Strong, lightweight, perfect for the new limb. Mason opened the toolkit. "We build tomorrow," he said. "And this time it won't just help you walk, it'll help you run." Thessa looked at the parts, her fingers brushing over the cold metal. "How does a human build something like this?" she asked. Mason looked at her. "Because I've seen what pain does to people, and I've seen what hope can rebuild." Back at camp under the stars, Mason worked through the night. He welded, fitted, adjusted. Thessa watched in silence. She could feel something strange in her chest. It wasn't fear. It wasn't pain. It was gratitude. She had hated this man once. Now, he was the only reason she was alive, and more than alive, she was moving forward. By morning, the new leg was ready. Mason helped her sit. Slowly removed the old brace. Thessa looked down at the new limb. Sleek, smooth, silver, and blue. Designed with care. Meant for her. He connected the joint. "You ready?" he asked. Thessa nodded. She stood. The leg moved without effort. She took one step, then another. No limp, no stumble. She began to run, across the dirt, through the smoke, wind in her hair. She stopped and laughed. Full, loud, alive. "I feel unstoppable." Mason walked up beside her. "You are." Enemies all around. The days on Karen 9 passed slowly. Smoke still hung in the air, but the fires had died. The forest was quiet again, though nothing felt truly safe. Thessa was stronger now. She could walk, she could run. Her new cybernetic leg moved with perfect balance. Quiet, powerful, steady. But more than her body, something else had changed. She no longer felt afraid. Not of humans. Not of machines. Not even of her own future. But something darker was coming. And it was coming fast. Dr. Mason sat by the fire, adjusting his medical gear. Thessa returned from patrol, her movement smooth and silent. "There's movement in the trees," she said, "not animals." Mason stood. "Could be other survivors?" She shook her head. "Too quiet, too fast." Mason frowned. He checked, his old scanner barely working but still useful. Red dots blinked on the screen. "Not survivors," he said. "Soldiers." "Human?" Thessa paused. "No, Ilvani, my own people." Mason blinked. "You sure?" "I heard them. They're speaking high tongue, looking for someone." Mason sighed. "You think they're here to rescue you?" Thessa's face turned hard. "No, they're here to take me back, or erase what I've become." That night they packed fast. Mason moved supplies into a bag. Thessa loaded a small plasma cutter, one of the only tools they had left for defense. "Don't understand," Mason said. "Why would your own people turn on you?" Thessa stared into the fire. "Because of my leg. To them I'm corrupted, unnatural. My body was supposed to stay pure. But you were dying. They don't. Honor is more important than life to them." Mason clenched his jaw. "Then we need to stay ahead of them." Thessa nodded. "There's an old comms tower east of here. If we can reach it, we can send a long-range signal. Then we leave. Now." They disappeared into the night, their path lit only by the stars. The forest was thick, full of broken roots and silent shadows. Thessa moved quickly, her cybernetic leg humming softly as it adjusted to the terrain. Mason followed, his medkit strapped to his back. They walked for hours, until a voice echoed through the trees. "Thessa of House Yelvith, stop where you are." They froze. 3 Ilvani soldiers stepped into view, armor shining, eyes glowing, weapons drawn. The leader stepped forward. His face was sharp, cruel. "You were reported dead. But here you are, with a machine leg and a human." Thessa stood tall. I survived. No, the soldier growled. You were rebuilt. That is not the same. You have dishonored your blood. Mason stepped in front of her. She's not going with you, the soldier sneered. She's not yours to protect, Taryn. She is now, Mason said. She's her own, and I stand with her. The soldier raised his weapon. Then you both die here. Before the blast could fire, Thessa threw a pulse flare. Boom, the flash blinded the soldiers just long enough. Run, she shouted. They darted into the trees. Branches snapped, shots fired, but the darkness was on their side. They ran until their lungs burned, until the trees thinned. And then, they saw it. A black tower, tall and broken, standing on a rocky hill. The comms tower, Thessa said. Inside, the tower was dusty and cold. Old machines lined the walls, most dead. But Mason found a working panel and powered it with the last charge cell in his pack. The screen flickered. Signal ready, Mason said. Just need to set the frequency. Thessa looked through the cracked window. They're coming. I can feel them. Mason tapped quickly. Almost there. Outside, footsteps crunched. Ilvani soldiers approached. Weapons raised. The leader stepped forward. You've run long enough, Thessa. Come now. We'll remove the machine. And the memory of this shame. Thessa stepped outside alone. The wind blew through her hair. She lifted her chin. You can't remove who I am. You are broken, the soldier shouted. Thessa activated her leg. It hummed with power. I was broken, she said. Now I'm stronger. You carry human filth. I carry life. I carry choice. I carry myself. She stepped forward. The soldiers hesitated. Behind her, Mason stepped out and aimed his small cutter. She's not alone. A voice came through Mason's earpiece. Signal received, evac en route, he smiled. Time's up. A loud hum filled the sky. A rescue ship broke through the clouds, guns glowing. The Ilvani soldiers looked up and ran. Minutes later, the ship landed. Medical crew ran out. Mason waved them off. We're fine, he said. She's better than ever. Inside the ship, Thessa sat quietly. She looked down at her leg. Her hand brushed the smooth metal. It saved me, she whispered. And they hate me for it. Mason sat beside her. Let them hate. You're still here. Still you. She looked at him. What am I now? He smiled. You're the first of something new. The new leg. The medbay of the Terran rescue ship was quiet, filled with soft lights and the hum of machines. Clean air. Real beds. Food that didn't come from ration packs. It was the first time in weeks that Thessa wasn't sleeping under stars or smoke. She lay on a soft bed looking at the ceiling, her mind full of noise. Her leg, the cybernetic one, was resting beside her, detached for inspection. It looked strange sitting alone, like a part of her heart had been placed on the table. Across the room, Dr. Mason cleaned his tools, surrounded by half-built parts and silver scraps. The temporary leg had served its purpose. Now it was time for something greater. Still scared? Mason asked gently. Thessa nodded. A little. He smiled. Good. That means you care. She chuckled, but her eyes were heavy. Will it hurt? Mason shook his head. Not like before. This time, we have full medical support. You'll be asleep during the operation. She looked down at her leg stump, now healed, clean, strong. But Bear, I don't want just any machine, she said. I want something that's part of me. Mason came over holding a design tablet. I thought the same, so I made something special. He tapped the screen. A 3D image floated in. The air? Thessa gasped. The leg wasn't just functional, it was beautiful. Slim, elegant, shaped like her original limb but enhanced. Tiny Ilvani symbols engraved into the metal. A soft blue glow pulsing near the ankle, and a hidden energy core that could power it for years. You made this? She whispered. For you, he said. I used your movements, your balance, your rhythm. It's not just a leg, it's your leg. Tears filled her eyes. No one has ever done something like this for me before. I didn't do it for you, Mason replied softly. I did it with you. The surgery was quick. When Tessa woke, her body felt different. She couldn't feel pain, but she could feel connection. Mason stood beside her bed, waiting. She sat up slowly, then swung both legs off the side of the bed. Her foot, her new foot, touched the floor. She stood. The balance was perfect. She took one step, then two, then a turn. No clicks, no shakes, just movement, like water flowing. Her eyes went wide. It listens to me. It's linked to your nervous system, Mason said proudly. Every step you think it answers. Tessa looked down, the blue light glowing gently from her ankle. It's not just part of me. It is me. The Terran ship returned to orbit, ready to take Mason and Tessa home. But when asked where she wanted to go, Tessa gave a new answer. Not back to the Ilvani capital, she said. Not yet. Then where? The pilot asked. Tessa turned to Mason. I want to go to Trellis Station. Mason raised an eyebrow. The neutral zone? She nodded. Where humans and Ilvani live together. A place with no throne, no titles. Just possibility. He smiled. Sounds like the perfect place for a new beginning. Trellis Station was a city in the stars. Built on the edge of both human and Ilvani territory, it was known as a zone of peace, trade, and quiet cooperation. Aliens and humans walked side by side. Drones floated overhead. Lights blinked in every color. No one cared where you came from, only who you were now. Tessa and Mason arrived quietly. No announcements, no royal guards. Just two survivors with backpacks and blueprints, and an idea. They rented a small workshop near the docks, and they began building, together. Not just machines, not just new limbs, but a clinic. A place where wounded souls, human, Ilvani, or anyone, could find healing without judgment. They called it the Foundry of Hope. Inside, they treated workers with crushed hands, soldiers with broken spines, children born with missing parts, and each time Tessa showed them her leg. This was made for me, she said, and it made me more than I was before. And little by little, the word spread. Not about a princess, not about a human medic, but about two people who defied tradition and built a future. One day, a young Ilvani girl entered the clinic. She had lost her arm in a mining accident. Her parents begged Tessa to help. But the council says cybernetics are forbidden. They whispered. They'll exile her. Tessa knelt before the child. Do you want your life back? She asked. The girl nodded silently. Then I will give it to you. She turned to her parents. Let them exile her. She will still rise. And together Tessa and Mason gave the girl a new arm, stronger, faster, more beautiful than before. The girl hugged them both and ran into the sunlight, laughing, alive. That night, as stars blinked outside their window, Tessa looked down at her own leg, the blue glow steady and calm. I thought this would be the end, she whispered. Mason turned toward her. And instead, she smiled. It became the start of everything. Hunted by her own kind, the lights of Trellis Station glowed like stars in a bottle. Peaceful, calm. Inside the Foundry of Hope, Tessa adjusted the brace on a young boy's new cyber arm. The boy smiled, flexing his fingers for the first time. Since birth, his mother wept behind him. You made him whole again, she whispered. No, Tessa replied gently. He was always whole. We just helped him move. Dr. Mason watched from across the room, cleaning tools. He smiled. But outside the clinic, far away, the galaxy was not so calm, especially not for Tessa. Her growing fame had reached places she wished it hadn't. Back in the Ilvani royal territories, Her name was being spoken again, not as a noble, not as a traitor, but as a threat. A noble woman with a machine leg helping others break ancient rules, refusing to hide, refusing to apologize, and worst of all, loved by both sides. For the High Council this was dangerous, so they sent someone, not to reason, but to remove. Thessa woke one night to a strange sound, a soft hum outside the window. She stepped out onto the metal balcony, her leg glowing faintly in the dark. A figure stood across the roof. Tall, covered in black robes. No face showing. "I wondered when you'd come," Thessa said quietly. "You are not welcome here," the voice replied, distorted and cold. "Return to the council, or be removed." "I'm not going back," she said. "I chose my path. You chose exile. You chose shame, and now others follow you." "I chose life," Thessa snapped, "and I'll defend it." The figure stepped forward. "You will fall, Thessa, and your metal will fall with you." Then it was gone, just like smoke. The next day, Mason found damage on the clinic's scanner tower. "Sabotage," he muttered. "They're watching us." "Let them," Thessa said. "I'm done hiding." "They won't stop," he warned. "You've made them afraid." "Good," she said. Maybe it's time fear changed sides, but it got worse. One night, someone broke into the clinic and destroyed 2 prosthetic limbs waiting for patients. A warning. 2 days later, a delivery ship refused to stop after seeing Thessa's name on the cargo. Then came the message. A public broadcast sent across Ilvani and human channels. Thessa of House Yelveth is hereby stripped of all titles, rights, and recognition. She is a danger to unity. Her teachings are forbidden. Her creations are unlawful. Her clinic will be dismantled. Return her to the capital or face consequences. The screen went black. Mason turned to her. "You okay?" Thessa nodded, but her eyes were hard. "They can't erase me. Not anymore." The next morning, dozens of people stood outside the clinic, not with weapons but with signs. Children, soldiers, workers, elders, Ilvani and human. One by one they spoke. "She gave me my hands back. She gave me hope. She saved my daughter. She gave me the courage to walk again." And finally, a little girl stepped forward. "I want a leg like hers." Thessa knelt beside her, tears rising. "You will, little one, and no one will ever call you less." The people began chanting, "We are not broken. We are not afraid. We are rebuilt." But the council didn't listen. They sent soldiers. 3 black ships landed near the station. Armored guards stepped out, faces hidden, orders clear. Shut down the foundry. Detain Thessa. Confiscate all tech. The people stood in the way. Mason, unarmed, walked to the front. "You'll have to go through all of us." The captain of the guards hesitated, but one soldier stepped forward. Blaster raised. He aimed at Mason. Before he could fire, a blast of blue energy hit the ground in front of him. Smoke. Light. Thessa stood there, her cybernetic leg pulsing bright. "No more running," she said. "No more hiding." "You are under arrest," the guard shouted. "No," she replied. "You are out of time." Behind her, the crowd rose. Not to fight, but to stand. No one moved. No one fled. They stood like a wall of flesh and steel. The guards lowered their weapons. The captain gave a quiet order. The ships left, without a word. Later, that night, as calm returned, Mason sat beside Thessa in the quiet clinic. "You know they'll come again?" he said. She nodded. "Yes. But now I'm not alone." She looked down at her leg, scratched from years of walking, glowing gently, in the moonlight. "I used to hate this," she whispered. "I used to think it was shame, proof I was broken." She looked up at Mason. "But now I know. This leg didn't take something from me. It gave me back everything." He nodded. "And it gave the world a reason to change." Outside, the stars blinked above Trellis Station, and beneath them, The foundry's light stayed on, because hope, once lit, can never be hunted down. Daughter of flesh and steel. The foundry of hope stood tall under the soft light of Trellis Station's twin moons. Its walls were no longer just metal and wire. Now they held something stronger. Stories. Stories of people who were once cast aside, of children born without limbs, of old soldiers whose bodies had broken but whose spirits had not. And above all, the story of a young Ilvani girl who once begged a stranger not to cut off her leg. Now she was the reason hundreds could walk again. Her name was Thessa, but many knew her by a new name, the daughter of flesh and steel. Inside, the clinic. Thessa walked down the main hall, her cybernetic leg humming softly with each step. The once smooth silver plating was now scratched in places, a mark of time, of travel, of use, but it still glowed with the same steady blue light. She passed rows of patients, a boy learning to open and close a mechanical hand, a girl testing her new balance with robotic feet, a veteran holding back tears as he flexed new fingers. Thessa stopped at each one, encouraging, smiling, helping. And every time she walked away, the patients whispered, "If she could come back from that, so can I." Dr. Mason still worked by her side, older now, his hair grayer, his hands slower. But his eyes remained the same, calm, focused, kind. He handled the surgeries. Thessa handled the healing. They had become something greater than doctor and patient. They had become family, not by blood but by choice, by trust, by shared pain turned into purpose. One day, a representative from the Ilvani High Council requested a visit. The same council that once declared her a disgrace. The same leaders who sent soldiers to silence her. Now they came with a different tone. They walked into the foundry quietly. No bodyguards, no weapons, just curiosity and hesitation. Thessa welcomed them without anger. "You said I was unclean," she said softly. "That this leg made me impure, that helping others like me was dangerous." One council elder, old and pale, stepped forward. "I was wrong," he said. "We were all wrong." He turned to the crowd of patients, to the children smiling and walking again. "You've done more for our people than we ever did. And you did it without war, without power, without a throne." Thessa nodded. "I didn't want power. I wanted healing." He looked down at her leg, the light still glowing strong. "We were afraid of metal, but now we see. The future is not flesh alone, it is both." He paused, then bowed. "I ask your forgiveness, and I ask your help." Thessa did not bow back, but she placed a hand on his shoulder. "I will help anyone who walks through my door," she said, "but I no longer wait for permission." Months passed. The foundry expanded. With help from human and Ilvani allies, they opened clinics on 4 new planets: Charon 9, Veltrax, New Terra, and Ilvar Prime. Each one followed the same rule. No one is broken. Everyone can be rebuilt. No one is denied. People came from across the galaxy, injured, lost, afraid, and left walking tall, with new limbs and new confidence. And everywhere, Thessa's story traveled ahead of her. She lost a leg, but gave the galaxy its future. Years later, Thessa stood on a stage built in the center of Trellis Station. Behind her were dozens of patients who now lived full lives. Children, workers, warriors, teachers, all wearing mechanical parts, all whole in. The crowd were humans, Ilvani, and species from places she had never seen. Reporters asked questions. Scholars took notes. But when Thessa stepped to the front, silence fell. She looked out over the sea of faces. "Once," she began, "I believed I was ruined, that losing my leg had taken away my worth. But what I lost made space for what I could become, and what I became was not less. It was more." She pointed to her leg. "This is not shame. This is not weakness. This is what saved me, and now it saves others." She paused. We are not just flesh. We are not just steel. We are both. And that makes us unstoppable. The crowd rose, not with cheers, but with quiet respect, because they knew this wasn't a victory built on ego or force. This was a story built on empathy. After the speech, Thessa sat with Mason on the clinic balcony. The stars blinked above. He handed her a small box. What's this? She asked. Open it. Inside was a metal badge, engraved with both human and Ilvani symbols. In the center, a leg, half muscle, half machine, and beneath it, 4 words. Strength is what you build. She stared at it, then looked at Mason. You still building with me, doctor? He smiled. Always. That night, a small girl walked into the foundry for the first time. Shy. Quiet. Missing 1 foot since birth. Thessa knelt beside her. Do you want to walk? She asked. The girl nodded. Thessa smiled, holding out her hand. Then let me show you how.